Welcome to Empowered by Iron, the podcast for female strength athletes by female strength athletes. We are your hosts, Dr. Kristin Lander from Fiercely Fuel Nutrition Coaching and Dr. Mary Morton, scientist and weightlifter. Together, we are Empowered by Iron. Welcome back to Empowered by Iron. This week, we did a little different intro because I got tired of saying, hey ladies, welcome back to Empowered by Iron.
We're just flying by the seat of our pants today.
Yeah, so this episode is a mindset episode. We wanted to talk to you guys about how maybe you're not working hard enough and goals and priorities and just maybe a little like kick in your pants.
Little tough love.
A little tough love.
Definitely heavy on the love, but also on the tough.
Also on the tough. Before we get into it, you guys don't forget that we have a Patreon and your support helps us keep this podcast alive. So check it out. It's linked in the show notes below and also in the bio of our Instagram page. For just $5 a month, you guys can help us continue to grow this podcast and this community and bring you awesome kicks in the asses like this one.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, Kristin, what are we talking about today?
So I have noticed a theme.
Tell
and this is not a knock on anyone. I realize that we are all different.
Which
right?
we will get into.
Yeah. But I noticed like a lot of people say they'll tell you their goals. And they say, this is my goal. I'm going to do this thing, whatever it is. Squat 400 pounds or
start a business
or a million different things.
Whatever it is.
But then like the steps that they need to take to get there, they don't do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, that wasn't a goal. That was a wish. You want the outcome of said goal. You don't want to do the work that you have to do to do that. And I think that I noticed this theme that it takes so much more work for people to get to where they want to get to than they think is going to happen. And maybe some of that is like social media to blame, where we're constantly
some of it.
Yeah, we're constantly like seeing like the fruits of people's labor and we're not seeing the labor happening.
Yes, or the bad days, or all the 24 hours it took to set up the 2-hour thing or whatever.
Well, and we deal with that all the time with the podcast. Like when we started this podcast, we had no clue what we were doing. If you guys have been with us since the beginning, thanks for sticking around. If you're new and have not listened to any of our old episodes, just don't even go listen to them. They were atrocious. But we jumped in
but we jumped in with this naivety, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not even sure we said out loud, like, we're going to start a podcast. I think we were like, okay, let's start one. And then we just did. And I think that was worked in our benefit.
If we had known, and I think this is true for a lot of goals, if we had known how much work it was going to be to create the thing and plan the thing and grow the thing, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
We probably would have been like, no, we're not going to do that.
No.
But we didn't know. And here we are, and we have this awesome community. And so we keep going because of the community that we've created, and we love it.
Right. If you would have told me 3 years ago when we started this that we'd need to write and edit, and we'd have 2 websites, and we'd have multiple content streams, if we needed a YouTube video, and we needed like all these things, I would have been so overwhelmed at the time that I would have just said no. But because at the time all it was simply editing audio and publishing it, that was it.
We didn't know. We were naive.
No, but I mean, this can be, as Kristin's going to get into, can be attributed to or can carry over to a lot of different goals.
Absolutely. Well, I think too, just in terms of lifting. So if we taught lifting is something we all know and understand.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. That's the thing that binds us. We come from all different backgrounds and walks of life and have led completely different lives and are completely different people. But the thing that binds us is our love for strength and our love for the iron. Mm-hmm. And I think that's super cool. So whether you are a recreational lifter or a super competitive lifter, it doesn't matter. It's that one thing that binds us. And just because you are a recreational lifter does not mean that you are any less of a lifter or any less of a person than someone who's super competitive and trying to win world championships or whatever. We're equally as important in the strength world.
And just because you're a big competitor or you are going for national doesn't make you more.
Doesn't make you better.
No, it just means that that's your primary goal. For example, dear Kristin and I are very different in terms of our lifting. If you guys have been listening for a while, you know that I had some type of hip issue. And since then, I have kind of diverged away from any type of competitive lifting. I lift recreationally. I love it. I enjoy it. I push myself, but I do it recreationally. I don't have any goals of competing or going to any type of AO series or doing anything. Right now, my main goal is go at least 3 times a week.
Yeah. Because it's something you enjoy. It makes you feel good. I think one of the things a lot of us got into lifting was because it was like the only form of exercise we enjoyed.
Yes.
And we knew that we needed to do something for health.
That's about where I'm at. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to do this because my body's going to fall apart. But then we have Kristin, who is going to win worlds one day.
Oh, Mary. Thanks.
And we are just on very different levels in terms of our lifting. Now, does that mean when Kristin texts me about some big PR, I think, who cares? It's stupid. Absolutely not. I'm like, hell yeah. Congratulations. Keep going. You're going to get 2 plates or 4 plates or whatever it is. You know, you are going to be what you want to be. And when I text Kristin about kit and stuff, she's not like, ugh, I can't believe Mary's not as lifting as me. She supports me in my other main priorities, which are this podcast and my kitten rescue. And lifting just kind of falls to the wayside, but I do it and I enjoy it. It doesn't make us less of anything just because we have different priorities.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. We have different priorities. And the one thing that I think is really important is not to, we've talked about this before, like, are your goals actually your goals? Or are you following someone else's goals because you think that you should be doing what that person's doing because you admire their success? And I see that a lot. People admire the success that people are having and they think, I want that for my life. I'm going to do that thing. And so then they tell all their friends and their family, I'm going to do this. And then when they realize the work that goes into doing that thing, they're like, oh shit. I mean, either maybe they're like, oh shit, I need to step it up, and they will step it up. Or they go, this isn't really what I had envisioned, and I'm not willing to do the work. Falling somewhere in between is a dangerous zone that I think a lot of people fall into this trap of. They feel like in order to be like worth a damn as a lifter that they need to compete and that they need to be super competitive.
Well, and they need to put on this facade, I think, on social media of they're either very sarcastic and they don't take life too seriously, or they take it very seriously, or they're very educational. Like they feel like they need to fit in these different boxes to be considered, I don't know, important.
Yeah. We're all important.
Yes.
You're important. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. So I think that what becomes dangerous is then when you're telling people your goals are a certain thing and that you're working towards those goals. But when you really look at it, you're not doing the work. No. You're not doing everything that you need to do, which is okay. But then I think you need to admit that to yourself and say, I'm actually not willing to do the work that is required to get to that level. So I'm going to back off, because what I see happen to people is that they're constantly saying they're going to do this thing, and then their support system starts to fall away because people are like, get to the point where like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it, because your support system is, they're investing their emotional energy into your goals, into supporting your goals. And if you're like constantly just getting in your own way or not following through with things, it's difficult to then maintain the support that you want. You're like, well, why is no one supporting me? Oh yeah, because I pulled out of the last 10 meets I signed up for, or whatever it is, you know, or I've been saying I'm going to start this business forever and then I never actually started it, or whatever it is. And so I think it's totally okay to admit, I actually don't want to do that amount of work. When I was in massage school, like forever ago, like almost 20 years ago.
I didn't say it.
I was in massage therapy school, and one of the things that we got to do that I think was really cool and was actually a really formative time for my athletic development was we got to go work an Ironman triathlon event. We got to work on the competitors after they had done the race. We did sports massage on them, and I was just so amazed by the work that these people had done, not just that they had done this race, which is mind blowing to me. I mean, it's like swimming and biking and running, but it ends with a marathon. Like I would never even run a marathon, let alone do a swim and a bike before it.
Yes.
So it was amazing to me to see this level of dedication these people had and how they pushed themselves. And I was just floored by it. And I thought, like, I want to do that. I want to do that thing. And so I asked my friends, I had 2 friends there that were triathletes. They did like sprint triathlons. And I was like, how much work do you think I could train for like a year and do this? And they're like, Kristin, you don't even run now. Like what? You don't run, swim, or bike. Like what are you talking about? And what I recognized was that I just wanted to dedicate myself that hard to something and prove to myself that I could do something really difficult. It took me a long time to figure out what that was going to be, but I was so blown away by that level of dedication. And I knew that I had that level of dedication in me. I just didn't know for what. I had to find the right thing. Because if I had gone out and tried to train to do that stuff, I would have hated it.
Yeah, you would have.
I mean, I like floating around in a lake. I mean, I used to be a lifeguard. So like I can swim.
Very different though.
But I don't want to swim for exercise. No. And if I'm getting on a bicycle, it better be a mountain bike, like single track, flowy downhill with a lot more downhill than uphill. And I'm not going to run unless someone's chasing me. So that was the wrong thing. And if I hadn't been able, if I didn't have those friends that could be really real with me, I might have actually like tried a little.
You would have. No, you would have.
And I would have not put in the work that was required because I didn't even like any of those things.
No. Well, I think a lot of us get stuck in your triathlete scenario where we see these outcomes or we see these people who, and I think for the 2 of us, it's people we see who are just so passionate about what they do. Yeah. And whatever it is, it could be horse training or it could be they have their own garbage truck service or whatever, but they're so passionate about what they do. That's what is so contagious. And I think each of us as humans, we want to find that thing in our lives. Yeah. And what we do is we're monkey see, monkey do. That person is happy doing that thing. Yes. Maybe I'd be happy doing that thing. And we're not trying to say that you can't experiment. I think it's so important, me being in my 20s, to experiment and find things. That there was definitely times, even just a few years ago, where I would tell my husband, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then finally he was like, okay, whatever you want to do. And I was like, you don't support me. But that wasn't it. It was that I had said I was going to do 1,000 things and I never followed up because they weren't truly what I wanted to do, right? Like they were just things that I saw people who were successful, who were doing them, who loved them.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. So there's nothing wrong in experimenting and figuring yourself out. Maybe you do need to talk to someone. Maybe these goals are just your way of trying to gauge your friend's reaction to see if they think that that's good for you or you to experiment. But instead of saying, this is my goal, just be like, I found this new thing. What do you think? Like, you know me pretty well. What do you think of this as a thing for me? Now if they say no, don't do it. And you're like, but I really want to, you should still try it.
Yes, definitely. Be like, well, forget you. I'm going to try it anyway.
Right. But I think if you're just trying to figure things out and test waters, talk to people, talk to a therapist, talk to friends, talk to family members. Don't say this is my goal. Instead of saying this is my goal, say I'm thinking of blah.
Yeah, I'm interested in this activity, this sport, this business, this career that,
and find people who do those things. Talk to them. I think you'll find a lot of successful people started in a place of pure naivety.
Yeah.
They're like, I really want to do this one thing. I don't know the steps to get there, but I'm going to do it. And the more they found out, the more they're like, oh shit, this is a lot of work, but they still did it. But they started at a pure place of, I want to do this one thing.
They started with curiosity and the love for what they thought the work was, not necessarily
What the
the
work
outcome.
actually, yeah.
Well, yeah, not necessarily the outcome. I think people that are the most successful just love what they're doing on a regular basis, as opposed to thinking of what, instead of it being a means to an end, you know?
Yeah.
Is really loving the work, loving the process. Like I actually, this is gonna sound weird, and I think it sounds weird in my head. I don't love competing in powerlifting or weightlifting. I love the work. I live for the work. I live for pushing myself and pushing past these self-imposed limits and seeing like that there are no limits. The limits exist in my head. I love that so much. Meet day is a little different. Like, I'm not that much of a competitor. I compete with myself. If I don't PR at a meet, I'm mad, because my whole point was that I was trying to beat old me.
Right.
So I need to PR. I don't care what my placement is. I don't care if I have records or medals or whatever. I don't care about it. I mean, that, sure, it's nice. It's icing on the cake. What I care about is beating myself. And I think that for me, if I don't have the deadline of a meet, I actually won't do the work.
Oh, yeah.
I really won't. I will have every excuse in the world to not do the work. So I recognized years ago that I needed to compete in something, because that was going to hold me accountable. Because the worst thing for me, in my mind, is to go to an event and not do well and know that it was my own damn fault because I didn't put in the work. That to me is like, it's literally like almost one of the worst things I could think of for my psyche, is just not having done the work. So for me, it's like a way of holding myself accountable. I love everything about building up to the competition, and then competition day is about proving to myself, you did all this damn work, and look at how it helped you. Look at what you were able to do that you didn't think that you could do a year ago.
Well, and there's no surprise then that you tend to place pretty well at these meets, because you are so focused on this goal of beating past self. You don't even fucking care what other people are doing.
I have no idea what anyone is doing. If you've ever seen me at a meet, I've got headphones in.
Yeah, I
don't watch any lifters. I'm sorry if we're at the same meet together. I actually don't recommend ever doing a meet with me if you want to talk to me, because I won't.
She won't talk to you.
I won't talk to you. I'll maybe be nice and smile if you say hi, but I don't. I'm so focused on myself and what I'm doing that I don't know what anyone else is doing. I don't, which is sometimes kind of sad, because if someone did something really amazing at a meet that I was at, I missed it 100%. I missed it. I didn't see it. I don't know. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where are we with this?
Well, we were
talking
talking about people in support groups and people supporting you. But I think that you would find that people who do go into meets saying, oh, I'm only 5 kilos below this person. If I lift this, I'm going to beat them. And I think people who go into a meet like that never win. Even if they win, they may never win, because they are always trying to beat someone else.
Yeah.
And they are not focused really on the work. They're focused on how everyone perceives them.
I totally agree. Yeah, they're thinking about what everyone else is thinking about them, as opposed to what they want. What do you want for your life? What do you want your outcome to be? Who cares what anyone else thinks? That's one thing that's actually been helpful for me, is letting go of, like, I think when I was younger, I wanted to do cool things because I wanted to impress people.
Yeah.
And when I let go of that, it was really changing for me. It was, now my training is, I get people make comments on my body at the gym or my training, or you're really hard work. They say things that I'm like, yeah, I'm not like, oh, thank you, and hanging on every word that they say, because I got to a point where it doesn't matter. It's not that I don't recognize a compliment when I see it. It's just that whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter, because I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That was a tangent. Again, I'm really worked up about this stuff.
No, that wasn't a tangent. It's I think if you're doing this, we've talked about this so many times, like if you're doing whatever it is a show for everyone around you or people who follow you on social media, you're going to fail, because you're never going to be happy with what you're doing.
Right.
Even if you succeed, you're going to fail, because it's not what you want to do.
Right. And I would say whether you have the support to do what you want to do or not, do it anyway. I have lifted almost my entire life without the support of anyone until very recently, until just the last few years. In that support now, my support system is growing, and it's very strange to me, the people that support me in lifting, because I'm like, what? Like, one of the things that kind of motivated me early on was that it was the weird thing to do, and people didn't understand it. And
yeah, you're a rebel.
Yeah. And well, and maybe not that, but that kind of fueled my fire sometimes, was when people would be like, why do you spend so much time at the gym? Oh, that's ridiculous, or whatever. I'm like, okay. And now they've like gotten on board to support me, and I'm kind of like, wait a second.
Can you just throw a little shade my way?
I'm not sure about this, because I was building myself all those years ago when you were giving me shit for this. And now you want to support me? Now you want to like be my big number one fan? I don't.
Ship sailed, buddy.
I mean, I'll take it. It's cool if you want to like cheer for me.
But you're not investing in it.
I'm not. And it's lifting is the thing I do for myself. As a healthcare provider, as a nutrition coach, as a podcast host, everything in my life that I do is for other people. I mean, I benefit from it, sure, don't get me wrong, but it's for other people. Lifting is mine.
Lifting is yours.
Yeah.
Well, this is, I mean, anything successful in life, right? You tell someone you're going to do it. They're like, okay. And then you do it. And the whole time they're like, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you should do this. And then at the end, when you've done it, they're like, oh my God, I know her.
How did you do that?
She's the best. I think the other thing with saying that you're going to do all these things and setting quote unquote goals and telling people you have all these ambitions in life is every time you fail, your psyche recognizes that you failed. And you, over time, because we are creatures of habit, right? And learning, every time you fail like that, you are teaching yourself that you can't.
I totally agree.
Yeah, you're teaching yourself over and over and over again that you're just going to fail. Why did you try anyway?
Or that failure is, well, okay, so let's talk like about failure. Failure is, I always say this, failure is not fatal. It's every successful person has failed so many times, but they keep going. It's that things didn't quite work the way that you thought they were going to work, and you stopped.
Yeah. So maybe it's better said that it's not the failure, it's the stopping.
Yeah. Giving up.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say, I didn't do well because I didn't want to put in the work, and I decided that's not for me. That's not my thing. Totally fine.
That's totally
There's
fine.
nothing wrong with that. And then I think that your brain recognized that, like, oh, okay, it wasn't a failure. It was a rerouting. It was let's figure out something else that wasn't for me. I think trying out different things to figure out what you like and don't like is awesome.
You should
and it's not quitting to decide that wasn't for me.
You're testing waters.
Yeah.
You got to test your waters if you're going to get anywhere in life. Like we're not born and like, oh, she's going to be a vet. Oh, she's going to be the best power lifter in the world. Like we learn these things over time, and the only way we learn is by trying. Now, some of us have had more experience by the time we're 25. Some of us have had less. So it may take you a few more years to figure out what your thing is, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Well, so I think I want to go back to what we talked about in the beginning about being a recreational lifter versus a competitive lifter.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I'm talking about are obviously competitive lifting, but some of these principles can carry over to recreational lifting. If you don't want to be a competitive lifter, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think that either in lifting or career or life, some way,
something you need to be pushed.
Something you need to push yourself. And stepping outside of your comfort zone is the best way to push yourself. I can count so many times in my life where I was so afraid to do something because it was outside of my comfort zone. And then I finally I just had to be brave for like 1 second, right? And do the thing, even though I was terrified. And it wound up to be a really good experience, mostly just because like I didn't die. Like I was afraid I might do. I didn't, like everything worked out fine. And like you were talking about how your brain recognizes that giving up is like, well, why are you even going to try? Because you're just going to give up or you're going to fail or whatever. It's that same kind of thing. The more experiences you have where you overcome your fear and just do the thing. It could be stupid. It could be, I remember one time I went to like a meetup group and I was so terrified because like I didn't know anyone, but it was for an activity. It was an activity that I liked. And so it was other people that enjoyed this activity too. And I was so flipping scared. And I look back, I'm like, what was I afraid of? I guess I just didn't know anyone and I didn't know what to expect. And I'm sometimes not good with the unknown. And
most people are afraid of the unknown. That's why a lot of people don't take the risks because they're what if I fail and what if I do this and I fail? Yeah. Well, yeah, that may not be great, but what if you do this and you succeed?
Yes,
absolutely. But it's the fear. It's the fear of the failure that overrides the success that could be.
For sure. And so I think that stepping outside of that comfort zone and maybe committing to something and pushing yourself for something is absolutely life-changing. For me, it's lifting. Well, it's a lot of things for me now because lifting is where I build my confidence to do those other things in life.
Right.
I'm like, well, I did this one thing. I squatted 300 pounds when I didn't know how the world I was going to do that. So like, what else am I capable of that I'm not even aware of?
Mm-hmm. It starts to build that confidence. So if you find that you start lifting and you've built confidence and maybe you did a competition, but then you realize that maybe it's not for you, carry that confidence over into your career or your hobbies or other parts of your life that you are very passionate about. I lift recreationally right now. I love it. I still want to get strong. I still enjoy learning about how to get strong. Obviously, that's why we have this podcast.
You still fuel your body in a way to get strong?
Yep. I never go work out without pre and post training carbs ever. It's just not, it's a habit now.
Why would you?
All right. It's horrible. Plus it's an excuse to just eat cereal.
Yeah.
But then I pushed myself in other ways, like doing this, the podcast and Female Strength Academy and the kitten rescue stuff. Like I have goals and ambitions for those things, and lifting just lets me kind of have a me time.
For sure.
And that doesn't make me less of a lifter or a person than Kristin. And Kristin, who's going to win worlds, doesn't mean that she's better or anything. She's just has different goals than me.
That's right.
We're alike but different, and that is what binds us.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. If you guys aren't already, make sure you're supporting us on Patreon. Episodes like this wouldn't be possible without you, and we do our weekly Q&As there. So if you have a question for us and you want us to answer it, head over to Patreon, Empowered by Iron, or patreon.com/empowered by iron. Linked below and linked in our Instagram bio.
And sometimes we take those questions from the weekly Q&A. They are amazing questions, and we turn them into an episode. So if you want to be part of that, creating our episodes, go to our Patreon.
Mm-hmm. And maybe there's some other perks you would like to see in Patreon. We are all ears if you are a patron. So with that, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will talk to you in a couple weeks. Bye.
See you.